I think it's safe to say my Honda Jazz has come a long way since I bought it a few months ago for just £800. In the previous videos, me and my friend Tom have fit this Honda Civic Type R engine into the Jazz with absolutely no previous experience of doing any engine swap in the past. And not only have we been able to start it, yes! But last video we actually managed to get the car driving. Now, my dream car has always been a Honda Civic EP3 Type R.
Yes, one of my dream cars.
But not just any EP3. This specific white-on-white JDM EP3 has always been the car I've been desperate to one day own. Now, since this TikTok comment with over 60,000 likes told me to fit a load of Type R parts to the Jazz, it got me thinking, can we turn our Honda Jazz, which already has a Type R engine, into an actual Jazz Type R that emulates the style of my dream EP3? Well, there's only one way to find out. Now, unfortunately, before we start transforming the Jazz into the Jazz Type R, there is something I need to address. So we are going to be removing the famous Lamborghini exhaust. Now, I know a few of you might be upset that I'm taking away arguably this car's most iconic feature, but the reason why is that I just want to be able to drive and enjoy this car. I currently can't because this exhaust is so loud. It vibrates the whole car because it connects to the chassis as it comes into the boot, and it also leaks exhaust gases into the cabin, so it's probably quite unsafe, and the police probably aren't a fan of this either. So yeah, it just needs to go. So I've brought the Jazz back here to the exhaust company to get a new bespoke custom exhaust made for the car. And the goal with this is not only to quieten down the exhaust to make it more bearable, but also to reduce that raspy noise that comes from these engines to give the car a really nice, satisfying exhaust note. So the current exhaust has a stainless steel exhaust manifold. It goes through one silencer and then straight through into the boot. Our plan with this exhaust is to leave the midsection as it is and create a new rear section with two new silencers. So after removing the old rear section of the exhaust, the guys at the exhaust company could begin building our new rear section. As I've mentioned before, building a custom exhaust requires a lot of measuring and mocking up, some cutting, and of course, a load of TIG welding. And doing this properly so that the exhaust not only works as it should, but also looks the part as well, is a very difficult job. And the guys here at the exhaust company are the best in the game, so I'll leave a link to them in the description of this video. Now, not only are we fitting more silencers, but we are actually reinstating the flame kit into this exhaust as well. So even though the Jazz won't be as loud, it will still be able to spit massive flames. The exhaust is now done, and just take a look at how awesome this is. So starting from over here, we have our stainless steel exhaust manifold coming through. We've got our small silencer here coming through to a big silencer, which the exhaust gases pass through twice. So that almost acts like two silencers. And then we've got one more silencer out here, and then the Japanese style single skinned exhaust tip. I just think that looks so, so good. Let's get the car down and see what this sounds like. It's a lot better, isn't it? That's so much better. 10,000 times better. And it looks so good as well. Now, before leaving the exhaust company, I made sure to get these sort of columns welded underneath the gear selector, because if you've been watching the build, you'll know that we could only bolt in the rear two bolts into the Jazz chassis, and the front two corners of the gear selector needed the support. The Jazz is now back from the exhaust company and we are ready to start modifying this car to turn it into the Jazz Type R. The first thing I'm going to attack is the interior of the Jazz. These interiors look very basic and they look like a grocery getter or an economy car. They do not look like a Type R model, which is what we're after. So I've bought a few modifications which I think are going to completely transform this interior. These are a set of seats from a Honda Civic EP3 Type R and they're in great condition. Now, a lot of you might be wondering why I chose the standard Type R seats over the lovely red Premier Edition JDM Recaros that are in my dream white on white EP3. The answer is they're painfully expensive and these standard Type R seats are much more reasonable. I bought these for 150 quid. Now, as much as it looks like it, these seats don't just bolt straight in. We had to do a fair bit of modification to make these fit, but now they're in, I think these seats look amazing. The next thing to fit is this gorgeous leather Momo steering wheel that has come straight out of a Premier Edition EP3. As for fitting this, I firstly pried off the airbag of the old steering wheel and removed it using the impact gun, and then I could just do that exact process again in reverse to fit our new Premier Edition Type R steering wheel. So this EP3 Type R gear knob is the final mod for the interior, and I really think it's these little things that make the difference. I have to say, I am absolutely ecstatic with how this interior has turned out. It looks so good. And in my opinion, the party piece really is this steering wheel. This leather Momo steering wheel out of the Premier Edition EP3. It just looks so good. A lot of you may have also noticed I've got the Type R lanyard as well with red Honda badges on the key. I really have gone to town with this whole Type R idea because I just think it's such a good idea. But now let's move on to the mods for the exterior. Now, when the Jazz was released, there were two main separate specs that you could order. This Jazz, which is like the basic Jazz, and then the Jazz Sport. The Jazz Sport came with a really cool body kit, like a front bumper, rear bumper, and side skirt combo, which makes the car look 10,000 times better. And I've bought that body kit. And not only did I manage to find the kit, I got it in the correct colour as well for just £200.
Oh my God, I can't believe you called me on the phone with him.
And as for fitting this body kit, the bumpers are dead simple. There's just a few bolts and screws holding in the standard front bumper, so we could go ahead and remove that quite quickly.
Well, you know, Angel. I must admit there was something.
And before fitting the new bumper, I'll also be fitting these beautiful new headlights, because as many of you have pointed out in the comment sections of my videos, the current headlights are looking pretty tired.
You were never mine, too long. What did you think would happen when you're cold to me? Turning back to back, the nights were so empty. Yeah, clothes they smell so fine, body was.
Before getting the new bumper on, there were a few things I had to do, like fit this gorgeous red Honda badge in replacement of the standard one. And a lot of you might have seen this coming, but this car wouldn't be complete without a Type R badge on the front grille.
It's been there crawling home begging. I don't think so.
As for the rear, it's a fairly similar process to the front. The bumper is very easy to remove with just a few screws and bolts holding it in. And I am also going to be removing the aftermarket taillights, which I fitted in a previous video, because as I mentioned earlier, the goal with this car is to make it look like what I think a standard Jazz Type R would have looked like from the factory if Honda had ever made one. And to be honest, I thought they'd grow on me, but I've just never really liked these lights since fitting them. The final parts of this body kit to fit are the side skirts. Now, these do require a bit of drilling and some lining up, but after a bit of persistence and some help from Tom, we were able to get these side skirts fitted. The The final thing to almost complete the exterior Type R look is of course the red Honda badge and the Type R badge for the rear. Now for those of you who are wondering, I will be getting a new boot soon, so this Jazz won't have 3 exhaust tips forever, but for the sake of this video, we're leaving it as it is. I think this body kit has absolutely transformed the Honda Jazz. It now looks mean. It now definitely looks like a certified Jazz Type R. I love this body kit. The skirts, the front bumper, and the rear. It just looks so good. But there is one thing really letting this car down, and that is the wheels. So I've got some new wheels. Now, these are actually very rare and sought after. The reason why is because these wheels exactly emulate the Type R wheels that are on the Civic EP3, but instead of 5 studs, these have 4, so they can fit on the Honda Jazz. Now, the reason why they're so rare is because these were a factory option from Honda. When you were ordering your Civic, you could also order a set of these wheels, but not many people did because I imagine they were quite expensive, so these ended up being really rare. So when I saw these on a car on Facebook Marketplace, I offered the guy 100 quid and my old Jazz wheels so that we could swap them over, and then boom, I had them, but these were in a really bad, damaged state, so I took them to the refurbishment shop, they refurbed them, got them powder coated in white, and then we also wrapped them in Yokohama 808 RS tires, really, really good track and road tires. So yeah, a lot of hard work and money have gone into these wheels. Let's get them on the Jazz. If you guys are enjoying this video and you haven't yet subscribed, I strongly suggest that you smash that subscribe button, because not only is subscribing free, but by clicking that little red button, you are directly contributing to all of the future videos. So click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and remember to like the video. Honestly, the wheels just make it. All of the effort I went to get these wheels, to get them powder coated and to get the tires on there, it's just so worth it. This car now looks like exactly what I think a Jazz Type R would look like if Honda ever made one. And I think we are getting pretty close to emulating the style of my dream EP3 with this car. Now, the next mod we're fitting to the Jazz is the most expensive, most significant mod we fit to this car so far, except for the engine, and it's gonna allow me to enjoy driving this car, especially around a track. And if you guys want to enjoy driving a car you're thinking of buying without any nasty surprises, then you should run a vehicle history check with today's video sponsor, CarVertical. When buying the Jazz, I ran a CarVertical check on the car and it uncovered a considerable amount of history. The car had green ticks for no outstanding finance or legal status, no damage, and no mileage fraud, which I was happy with, meaning the car was most likely a safe bet. But when I scrolled down on the report, it revealed that the Jazz had failed 8 MOTs in the past, which is a bit concerning. A more worrying report would have been this Aston Martin V8 Vantage, because not only does it have an amber warning light for outstanding finance and legal status, but it also has one for damage as well. And not only that, if you check further down on this report, CarVertical actually shows you pictures of all of the damage because this car was sold on a car crash auction website. If we scroll down further, we can see that this car was marked as a category B, meaning it can't legally be put back on the roads. So if someone had done a dodgy repair and was trying to sell me a car like this, I'd be able to see right through them. So to check any car using CarVertical, click the link in the description of this video and use the code JACK20 at the checkout, because doing so not only saves you 20% on the price of a CarVertical report, but it also massively supports the channel and it allows me to keep bringing you videos like this. But with all of that said, let's get this next big mod fitted. Now to fit this next insane mod to the Jazz, I've brought the car here to Evolution Autoworks in Twyford. And that's because this next mod is going to take a load of work to fit. And that modification is this insane big brake kit. These are a set of 4-piston Brembo brake calipers off a Megane RS. And not only are these going to look the part, they're also going to be very functional and help us stop this Jazz on a dime now that we've got a bigger engine with a lot more horsepower. Now the reason why it's going to take a lot of work to fit these brakes is because to stop the wheels from touching our new bigger front calipers, we're going to need to fit spacers to the car. And in order to fit spacers, we're also going to have to fit extended wheel nut studs onto the hubs because the standard ones are just too short to fit both spacers and the wheels. So what seems like a simple job of just fitting a set of brakes is actually a lot more complex. So Adam from Evolution Autoworks is going to be tackling the job of getting the extended studs fitted to the Jazz. So he started off by changing the studs on the rear hubs. And since doing the rears is fairly simple on the Jazz, Adam was done with this pretty quickly. Now, fitting extended studs on the front is a lot more difficult than the rears, and that's because you need to have and know how to use a bearing press. So whilst Adam got on with doing that, Tom and I could get on with fitting the new rear brake calipers, which are just standard calipers that have been powder coated in the exact same red as the new fronts. So once Adam was finished with fitting the extended studs on both of the front hubs, he could then get them back on the car, which then allowed Tom and I to start installing our new big front brakes. Now, it doesn't really do it justice on video, but these new brake calipers are so much bigger than our standard ones. They are absolutely huge. After getting 15mm spacers on the front and 5mm spacers on the rear and then the wheels back on, Adam then got the Jazz on these red alignment tables to give the car a string alignment. Now, a string alignment is basically where two strings are strung on either side of the car and carefully centered to the chassis center line in order to give a point of reference so you can measure the toe angles of each wheel individually. And this is not only going to help the car handle better, but it's also going to stop it from going through tires quicker than it should. So the Jazz Type R is now really getting there. This car is very quickly becoming one of my favorite cars I've ever owned. And just a quick one, we have also fit this intake using a bit of Boris's silicone piping. That is temporary, we will swap that out soon. But I am really falling in love with this car, from all of the stuff that we've done to the interior to now this amazing wheel, brake and tire combo. Yeah, I just really, really like this car now. But with all of that said, I am going to leave the video here. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to smash that like button and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm trying to get to 100K before the end of June. So if you could click that subscribe button, it would mean the world. And with all of that said, catch you in the next one.
Not if you drive like a complete maniac the whole time, we don't, but...
So you're saying you don't want me to drive like a maniac?
Not all the time. Come on, man.